Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a big one, artificial intelligence. And specifically, how Apple is, well, navigating this whole AI landscape.
Yeah.
It's evolving so fast.
It really is.
And you're probably looking for a clear picture of their strategy, right? Without getting totally bogged down in the technical weeds.
Yeah, just the core ideas.
Exactly. So that's our aim. We've been digging into this analysis. It's called Apple's Strategic Approach to AI and User Experience.
Right.
And our mission today is basically to pull out the key insights. How's Apple thinking about AI? What are their strengths? Maybe what challenges are they facing?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's less about who's winning the AI race. You know, it's more about understanding the specific path Apple seems to be carving out here. The analysis gives a pretty valuable look at their thinking.
Okay, so let's unpack it.
Yeah.
First thing that really jumps out from the analysis is this constant focus on user experience. They almost describe it as being like part of Apple's DNA.
It's totally central. And what's interesting is how unwavering they are about it.
Yeah.
The source really emphasizes that Apple isn't just chasing, you know, the latest tech fad.
Okay.
Their whole energy seems to go into integrating tech so it feels natural, intuitive. Makes your life better, basically.
Right. Seamless integration.
Exactly. And the analysis argues that this focus, this core belief, it's key to building that intense user loyalty.
Oh, yeah.
Creating those unforgettable experiences they talk about.
That makes sense. And this user experience focus, it ties directly into AI, especially around privacy, doesn't it?
Huge implications there.
Apple's built this really strong reputation for protecting user data.
Yeah.
The analysis basically calls privacy a fundamental right for them.
Precisely. And that's where things get, well, complicated for AI development.
Oh, so?
Well, AI, particularly a lot of the current stuff, it often needs massive amounts of data to learn.
Right. Training data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Apple's privacy stance often means, you know, collecting less data, doing more processing right there on your device. So compared to competitors whose whole business model might be built on gathering vast user data, Apple just has less to work with in that sense.
Okay.
The analysis calls it a conscious trade-off, which I think is a good way to put it.
A conscious trade-off.
Okay.
Which I guess leads straight into that common feeling you hear sometimes.
Yeah.
That Apple is maybe behind in AI.
Right. The lagging behind idea.
Yeah. You look at Siri, maybe compared to other assistants, or all the buzz around generative AI from Google, from Microsoft, and OpenAI, it can kind of feel like Apple's missing the boat sometimes.
It can definitely seem that way on the surface, but the analysis pushes back on that a bit.
Okay.
It asks, does that perception really capture their strategy? Maybe Apple isn't trying to build the same kind of like universal AI assistant.
So what's the alternative then?
It might be more about what you could call practical AI.
Practical AI.
Yeah, AI that's deeply woven into their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Making specific things better. Well, think about intelligent suggestions in apps or automating little routine tasks. Camera improvements are a big one.
Oh yeah, computational photography.
Exactly. Or even just optimizing device performance behind the scenes. It's AI, but it's not always flashy.
And they buy smaller AI companies too, right? The analysis mentions that.
Yeah, that's part of the pattern. Suggests a more, maybe a quiet, integrated approach to building capability.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The analysis draws this parallel to Apple's history.
Ah, yeah, the latecomer advantage.
Kinda. They weren't first with MP3 players, right? Or smartphones or tablets.
Not at all.
But then came the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad. And they basically redefined those whole markets.
It's a compelling pattern, isn't it? They seem to have this knack for taking existing concepts, refining them intensely around user experience.
Making them simple, intuitive.
Exactly, and delivering something that just clicks with people. The analysis suggests we could potentially see a similar Apple moment happen with AI.
Huh? So they enter in their own way, maybe later, but potentially reshape what we expect from AI.
That's the idea. It's plausible, given their track record.
And a big part of that Apple way seems to be this more careful, deliberate approach, prioritizing safety and ethics.
Yeah, the analysis highlights that too. In a world where tech's moving incredibly fast and people are, you know, increasingly aware of the potential risks.
Right, the downsides.
Apple's focus on doing things more carefully, ethically, that could actually become a real strength, a differentiator.
Building trust, maybe.
Absolutely. It feels like more of a long-term play. As users get savvier about technology's impact, that commitment could really resonate and build deeper loyalty.
So, okay, even if their current AI stuff isn't grabbing all the headlines. The analysis basically concludes Apple is still set up to be a major player in AI down the road.
Yeah, they're definitely positioned strongly.
It points to, the obvious strengths, that incredibly powerful ecosystem.
Where everything just works together.
Right. Plus the huge loyal customer base, massive financial resources, and just the power of the Apple brand itself.
And connecting that back to their strategy, it suggests Apple's AI might end up being less about, say, a super intelligent chatbot, and more about delivering real, practical value and, importantly, secure value within the products people already use.
Making your iPhone work better, your Mac faster, your watch more helpful.
Exactly. More effective, more intuitive, but always with that privacy underpinning.
And we're actually seeing hints of this playing out now, aren't we? The analysis mentions Apple Intelligence.
Yeah, the announcement at WWDC, that fits the pattern perfectly.
How so?
Well, it's described as deeply integrated, highly personalized AI, but with that constant emphasis on privacy, often using on-device processing.
Right, there's that privacy angle again.
It's central, and interestingly, the analysis also points out their willingness to collaborate.
Like the OpenAI partnership.
Exactly. It suggests they're being pragmatic, they're building their own core AI, definitely, but they're also willing to strategically use external tech where it makes sense, perhaps, to fill gaps or accelerate things.
So it's not purely an in-house strategy then?
Doesn't seem like it. More of a hybrid approach, maybe.
Okay. So if we boil down this deep dive on Apple and AI, what are the key takeaways?
Well, I think it's clear their approach is really shaped by that deep-rooted focus on user experience and privacy.
Right. Those are the guiding principles.
Yeah. And that means their path in AI might look, well, pretty different from some competitors. It might seem slower or less flashy on the surface.
But the potential is still there.
Absolutely. Their history, their ecosystem, their resources, they suggest Apple could still make a huge impact, likely through really practical, secure integrations.
Makes sense. It's a different playbook.
It really is. And that kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you listening to consider.
Yeah.
Given Apple's history, entering markets late, but often changing the game, how might their intense focus on user experience and privacy end up redefining what you actually expect from AI in your phone, your computer, your everyday tech? What kinds of needs or maybe even annoyances that we currently have with AI might Apple be uniquely positioned to solve with their specific approach?
Although Apple might be a bit slower to the game than its competitors, it consistently prioritizes the user experience. That's the very point where Apple significantly outshines many other rivals. Furthermore, when it comes to protecting user information, it seems Apple is still doing a remarkably good job. Consequently, they might indeed face a considerable data deficit compared to their competitors. For AI, data is indispensable. Thus, it's somewhat inevitable that Apple is perceived as lagging or falling behind its rivals. Though it's been nearly 10 years since I last used an iPhone, those previous experiences are truly unforgettable for me. And I believe that even if Apple appears to be at a disadvantage or a step behind in this AI era, the final outcome will undoubtedly see Apple astonish its users. Technology is currently advancing at an ever-increasing pace, but such development always comes with inherent risks and subtle perils. Apple, however, consistently pays attention to and strives for safe development. Therefore, I think that in the future, Apple will remain a formidable competitor against the tech giants. Prioritizing user experience. This is precisely Apple's DNA. They don't rush to chase trends. Instead, they focus on integrating technology seamlessly, intuitively, and in a way that delivers genuine value to users. It is this very approach that cultivates loyalty and those unforgettable experiences you mentioned. Protecting user information. Apple has built an unwavering reputation in this domain, treating privacy as a fundamental human right. This fosters immense trust, especially amidst growing concerns about data misuse. The consequence of data protection for AI. You're absolutely right. AI is data hungry. Apple's restriction on user data collection, or its preference for on-device processing, undoubtedly poses a significant challenge when competing against rivals who possess vast data troves from free services, like Google and Meta. This is a conscious trade-off on Apple's part. Is lagging behind in AI inevitable? On the surface, it might appear so. especially as generative AI models from Google, Microsoft, OpenAI are making significant waves. Siri, when compared to other virtual assistants, also seem somewhat less capable in many tasks. From Apple's strategic perspective, they might not be slow, but are rather treading a different path. Instead of an all-knowing AI, akin to ChatGPT, Apple could be focusing on practical AI, deeply integrated into its operating system and applications to enhance specific experiences, e.g., intelligent suggestions, task automation, camera improvements, performance optimization. They also tend to acquire smaller AI companies to integrate their technology. Belief in a comeback and surprise. History has repeatedly demonstrated that Apple isn't always the first mover, but often emerges as the best executor when they decide to enter a field. The iPod wasn't the first MP3 player, the iPhone wasn't the first smartphone, and the iPad wasn't the first tablet. They possess the ability to discern potential, refine concepts, and create groundbreaking products that reshape markets. It's highly plausible that a similar scenario will unfold with AI, in Apple's distinctive way. Safe and sustainable development. In a world of rapidly advancing technology, fraught with potential risks, Apple's cautious approach, prioritizing safety and ethics, could prove to be a long-term advantage. Users are becoming increasingly conscious of these dangers. Your conclusion that, in the future, Apple will still be a formidable competitor is entirely well-founded. They possess a robust ecosystem, an enormous base of loyal users, abundant financial resources, and an incredibly valuable brand. The manner in which Apple integrates AI into its ecosystem might not be the flashiest approach, but it could very well be the one that delivers the most practical and secure value to end users. The recent WWDC event, with the introduction of Apple Intelligence, somewhat illustrates this direction. Deeply integrated, personalized AI with a core focus on privacy. They are also willing to collaborate, e.g., with OpenAI, in areas where they might not currently possess immediate strength, all while continuing to develop their own core capabilities.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.